ready already.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. I will now call to order the November 18th, 2019 meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. The meeting is being recorded. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items?
So, Jeff Squire from the Berkshire Design Group here for River Valley Co-op. Not necessarily a public concern, it was more just to bring the commission up to date as to current plans. We are much closer to construction than we were several months ago. The order of conditions was issued in February, March, I think. But just to update you, it's the biggest change, I can show you real quick, and I don't know whether it's...
We do actually have an agenda item?
Yeah, okay.
So I would like
For River Valley?
Yeah, we have compliance updates for all active projects and open permits.
Item K.
Wow, okay, wait,
So,
all right. We will sit tight.
Good to know you're here for that, though. Thank you. So, but we will move on to public hearings and meetings. Public hearing continued from October 21st, 2019. Bundled notice of intent filed by the City of Easthampton, Mass. DEP file number 151307. Applicant is seeking an order of conditions for various routine non-exempt maintenance activities and has requested a continuation to the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting on December 9th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion to continue to December 9th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. Next item, public meeting, request for determination of applicability filed by the City of Easthampton. Applicant is seeking a determination of applicability for the installation of 2 charging stations within the 100-foot buffer zone. One station is located at 50 Payson Avenue, map 151, lot 164, and the second is located at 122 Pleasant Street, map 136, lot 106. Good evening.
Thank you, Julie.
Introduce yourself for the record and please join us up at the table.
Jeff Bagg, I'm the city planner, and thank you for hearing my 2 requests for determination of applicability. The couple of commissioners and the conservation agent just did a site visit at 122 Pleasant Street and 50 Payson. Do you want me to? They're combined, correct? So
yes, it's one application.
Okay.
So
we'll start with. Do you have a preference where we start?
no,
Okay.
whatever you like.
I think we'll start with the property at 122 Pleasant Street. So that's the Keystone Mill, and what we're talking about is an area in the back of the mills. It was the area that was improved a couple years ago with the Mass Works grant to install the parking areas in the back and the retaining wall adjacent to the bike path. So what we are trying to do, what the planning department is trying to do is access the Eversource Make Ready program, where Eversource covers the cost of infrastructure, all the infrastructure associated with an electric vehicle charging station, up to the point where the conduits poke out of the ground, and then they're done. And what we've been successful with is pairing the Eversource program with green communities, and we're waiting to hear on the Mass EDIP, so it's another funding source that's trying to incentivize chargers. So this project behind the mills, if you are familiar with that area, if you're on the bike path heading towards the mills, there's an exit to the left of the bike path that goes up the paved ramp, and then you enter into the back of the mills, and then just to the right of that ramp are 4 parallel parking spaces. And so the city owns the strip of land closest to the bike path and all the parking along that road. And the idea is to install 2 charger stations, each which have 2 ports. So each station can charge 2 cars. So in between the 2 white cars shown on that image, there'll be a charger, and then in between the 2 silver cars, there'll be a charger. So what this area in general is within the 100-foot buffer of Lower Mill Pond. So there is a sketch that I tried to provide the commission based on that earlier delineation and mapping in where the improvements would be. And then the commission has the documents prepared by Eversource and their subcontractor to show all the areas of improvement. So in the back of the mills, this is in the vicinity of abandoned building brewery. Across the parking lot are two existing Eversource transformers. They're sort of in an island, a protected island, a curved island. And so the work under this RDA would be to trench under, like through the pavement and under the pavement across the drive aisle to the area closer to the retaining wall. And we were just out there, a site visit. There is a fire hydrant and a small grass area where Eversource would propose to put their switching station. So it's just like the idea of a green box would be installed on a concrete platform with another device called the handhole. And then they would trench through the parking area to access the two proposed chargers. I will say that upon looking at this at the site visit, there would be a question of whether Eversource would be able to trench through the wall and under the wall as kind of shown on the plan, or whether they would actually be more inclined to trench in the road in a paved area and around to get over to where
I
the
don't remember how
charger
many
would be.
blocks are in that wall
Right.
to
Right.
reinforce it. So it could be 6 feet deep, it could be 1 block deep, I don't remember. But
Correct. So, the installation of the electrical transformer and pad and the handhole and the trenching to the stations is what's within the 100-foot resource area. The other work on the transformers is outside of the line, and I tried to articulate that in the sketch map.
What is the anticipated timing of this work? Is that something you can estimate?
We initially, so I want to give the projection of this winter, this fall into winter. But I think it's dependent upon a couple of things, which is if we get a significant snowfall, then they probably would push to the spring. But if the weather holds out in terms of lack of snow, then they seem to have been given the indication that they could make this happen this fall/winter.
So if they do any work in that, I'm assuming there are catch basins in this parking lot?
I think that's a safe assumption. Yeah, I don't know where they are exactly.
And then there's an area that would be, the small grassy area that would be disturbed,
Correct.
and that's behind a curb, and then does it just slope down to the bike
it
path
slopes to
there?
that riprap area that was really hard to retain. It was planted with many things and nothing ever worked, so riprap is what worked.
Okay. Is there any, discussion of using any erosion controls or catch basin inlet protection?
Yeah, I realized that I don't know if you got the entire packet from Eversource. I was trying to make it more reasonable. There are, so this is sheet GN2 of the spec plans, does have environmental notes. So, yeah, if you want to.
Oh, general notes too.
Yeah, environmental notes. I was trying to be prepared for that kind of question. So it does say that all work performed shall be done in accordance with issued permits. Contractors shall be responsible for construction and maintenance of the erosion and sediment controls during construction and protection of adjacent properties, roadways, waterways. All erosion and sedimentation controls shall be maintained in place through final jurisdictional inspection or release of site. Sediment silt control, fencing, as required, within the limits of site disturbance. No sedimentation will be allowed to exit the property. Positive drainage. I thought that there was one for structures. No, I'm answering your question, or just.
Well, you're letting me know if it's, do they have a typical detail sheet in this stuff?
Good question. So you're specifically looking at catch basin reference, is that?
We can include it better. Just whatever you, okay. Okay, so the other site is 50 Payson Avenue?
Correct.
Okay.
So 50 Payson Ave, most people are familiar, at the rear of this building, similar setup is there's an existing Eversource transformer, and the proposal is to trench across a short walkway into, so where the electric bike stations were installed, behind that there's another existing grass patch, and so the proposal is to trench through the walkway to the grass patch and install another transformer and a handhold, and then trench across the parking lot. And there's a diagram to show that. I did provide some secondary measurements using the GIS because there were no, I couldn't find any recent delineations.
Here? So where would the trench be?
So the proposal for 50 Payson is to come off the existing transformer across the walkway to the new enclosure. And it looks like whether or not they bring it closer to Williston Ave and then across the parking lot entrance to connect. Right, so that,
This is just showing.
those were rough, yes. The trenching would occur along the black wrought iron fence
Okay.
to get to the two chargers, and then it would traverse across the parking lot entrance into the grass patch. Somewhere it takes a change in direction.
The charger would be right in this
Correct,
section.
there would be two there, yes.
Okay.
In that front row of parking facing Wilson Ave.
All right. Is there anything from the site visits? Commissioners want to add? Okay. Any other questions? Further discussion?
As long as there are appropriate erosion controls, I don't think there's any concern about the work.
We could include by reference.
Yeah, the only erosion control would be, maybe if they were disturbing this area, is along the rail trail, parallel to the rail trail.
I'd
where
say the
riprap
top
is.
is level.
Yes, that's on,
Yeah.
but
And then
one 8-foot
any-
long straw wall or something like that,
And then any catch basin inlet. Right.
which would be
Which
more
would
in the
be-
center of the parking lot, not at the perimeters, I
Right, yeah.
believe. Similar to this, it looks like this all pitches towards the middle of this 50 Payson. It looks like the grass area is higher than the parking lot along that corner by only a couple inches. It's,
Right.
using
Just
Mike's
gradual.
headlamp, it was hard to
Yeah.
determine.
Yeah, sunsets before 4:30. That's a good, sorry. Okay. So, would anyone care to make a motion?
Everything's buffer zone, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I will make a motion to issue a negative determination type 3 that the work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the following notice of intent, subject to the following conditions. And I believe the conditions should be our standard 48-hour notice, referencing the existing erosion control and sediment controls, as well as making sure that catch basin inlet protection is provided for. And those references are in sheet GN2 of the existing plan set.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved.
Thank you. These are the city's first EV chargers.
There it is.
All right.
Cool. Erosion controls, catch basin protection.
Second on that.
Objection?
So Jeff, once they're done signing it, I'll just have to scan it and then I can give it to you. And then I'll send it to Mark after.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well done. Can you finish that? That's for the night.
Thanks.
You're just gonna stay up here for this next
That's what I
one,
was,
aren't you?
yes, I wanted to make sure I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Somebody's homemade bowl of some sort.
That's my fault.
I made them.
Very nice.
That's a lot.
I like.
That's yours.
Thank you.
I do enjoy the nuts. Hard to do while 15 minutes though.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, Jay.
But we can't have these things.
Nuts over chocolate, I guess, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. You ready? All right, next item on the agenda, public hearing, request for extension, permit for order of conditions. Of conditions filed by the City of Easthampton, Mass. DEP file number 151273. Applicant is seeking an extension of the order of conditions for work located at Pleasant Street Mills. To reintroduce yourself for the record.
Sure. I'm Jeff Bagg, I'm the city planner, and I appeared before the commission last year, perhaps naively thinking that this could be resolvable within 6 months, and that failed to be the case. What I am here to request is for an extension of the order for a year to next December 2020. And if you'll recall, there were some questions about, so there's a series of drainage structures on the Lower Mill Pond side of the rail trail that were constructed as part of the parking area construction project. And there was an issue and a question raised about one in particular that appeared to be holding standing water. And we were trying to get clarity on whether it was functioning properly. And the thought process was to figure out if it was built in accordance with the plans. And through just a variety of sort of human-related issues, we just haven't made enough progress to figure out if there is an issue with that one area. And there's been a change in staff and the conservation agent. It took a while to get the engineering department out there. We did do a site walk, myself and the city engineer did a site walk. We took another site walk with the former conservation agent, and then myself and the current conservation agent went out and did a site walk this fall. And so then I became aware that we weren't going to be able to resolve this within the 6-month extension previously granted. So I'm here 30 days prior to this actual expiration to seek
Excellent.
the extension.
So, thank you. So, note that this was received. So I guess a couple of questions.
Yes.
Do you think a year is sufficient? Or are you hoping that having only a year will be the incentive to work through the timing issues?
That's fair.
I think the extra year is free, right?
I think it's hard to know. I mean, I think that we did not make enough progress during this past spring and summer to really get. So there's a lot of going back in time to figure out what was installed. We do have the as-builts, and just to get enough people to focus on it and pay attention was more than I bargained for. So. I don't know whether the commission would rather give 2 years or set the year and potentially see me again next fall, but I would rather it keeps a target on the timeline.
If you'd rather, that's your discretion.
Yeah.
We have the ability to, within the regs, to issue an extension for a period of up to 3 years. But if you're only asking for 1, and you think that will help keep things on track, then that's fine.
Yeah. Would you have an interpretation of that being consecutive requests for extension that amount up to a year, or is it just I don't want to put myself in
multiple extensions.
that equal 3 years.
I'd want to look at the regulations to see exactly how it's written before I can say one way or the other.
I mean, so, like we go back and do certificates of compliance for projects, where the orders of condition have expired all the time. But I guess the question here is if we need the permit to remain open in case something is found that additional work is needed. That's really what the...
Right. That way you don't have to, you could request depending on the scale of it, if anything needs to be done,
Yep.
then you have an open valid permit and you can submit a design modification, and if it's within the commission's purview and discretion to approve it under the open order, then that's what the commission can do, versus closing it out and having to refile for an entirely new project.
Yes, I'd like to avoid that
Yep.
scenario. So to clarify, if I continue with the request for 1 year and realize that something is more complex or the timing doesn't work out, I could appear back for an additional extension. I'd like to pursue that.
Okay.
And try my best to make something happen this coming spring and summer.
Okay. So, that said, is there a Motion to grant a one-year extension for DEP file number 151273 as requested.
Yes, I motion to issue a one-year extension for Mass DEP file number 151273.
Second.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. So your permit will now expire on December 20th, 2020.
Great.
Cassie, do you have the, thank you.
It's right there.
Oh,
Yep. That's the form. You just sign it at the bottom.
okay. Nice, I think stamped received.
Oh yeah, I don't
That's-
know. I was, I've been overzealous with my stamping.
That's fine. So this will also need to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will update the expiration date on the agenda.
Thank you. Means treated.
My pen's crooked too there for some reason.
It's not academic.
We're gonna have to just call it.
This is not true. That's
That's true. Mine are all green. This was on there for
Well, we have to decide to work with, so.
I need to show my name.
a bit late for that, Michael.
That's it.
That's it.
Works.
All right, moving on. Enforcement actions. First item, CFN Properties LLC, complete automotive repair, 10 O'Neill Street, map 114, lot 31. Updates?
Yeah, we conducted a site visit with Mr. Fall on the 6th of this month. I have photos I can pass around if people want. And basically, there had been evidence of storage of, I guess one of the explanations for some of these dead grass patches was there was storage of a boat. There's another dead grass patch from storage that he couldn't remember what of. Essentially, he cut away that main area and then he kind of exposed a little trail network that the school at One Industrial Way had put in. That's a separate matter, obviously, what's going on with that. I just included the picture for your information. And then, yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add. Basically,
So who else, you were at the site visit and Jay?
Michael.
Michael,
Jay.
Deborah? Okay.
and there was a question of the flow having maybe changed because of the work done at the savings bank. It's
Uphill?
east or something. It's basically
west of
uphill,
the
it's
site.
west. And,
But it's still in a buffer zone.
Yeah,
There was
it's still in
water,
the buffer
there's some water, you know,
Okay.
there.
All right. So have you drafted anything regarding this?
not yet. I wasn't sure, just depending on what you guys wanted me to do next. I mean, I have an enforcement order drafted, but I would want you to check it before.
Okay. So was there any discussion of restoring part or all of this area, filing a permit to,
He seemed to understand that
Formalize
there
it.
would be mitigation work that needed to be done.
I mean, that doesn't, when he was here, he explained that it's because they needed additional space. So if they need additional space, do they need to formalize that so that they're not parking vehicles that may be leaking or other things in an area where it's not being collected, where it's just infiltrating to the groundwater table.
Right, we didn't speak about anything specific, what were the next steps. Basically, we wanted to see what you all collectively had to say would be a good direction for next steps.
I think he understands he's not supposed to park vehicles there
Oh, yeah.
going forward, so
Yeah,
that
or-
was clear.
Clear all the buffer zone vegetation.
Right. But
Do you have an aerial that's, any printed aerials?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a feel for how much of this area.
Or should, yes. So here it is in relation, on top is the original plan and where the buffer zone is laid out, and then that's the cut area.
So yeah, the tree line used to go right up to the back of what they proposed. Did you just drop food on the floor? To the back of the, yeah, and you can see this tree line is still intact. The stormwater, so. Yeah. So it. Based on this, it looks like they cut right up to the wetland boundary.
It does, if not into.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it almost looks like a vehicle's in this wetland.
that's, yeah. Cassie, in the original NOI file, are there any delineation data forms or characterization of the wetland in the area of flags A2 through A4?
Let's see. Most likely, here's the. I'm giving you the whole thing, but I think this probably sounds pertinent with this document. And then, you know, because they already received certificate of compliance and all the conditions for all this work. Stormwater management report, individual NOI.
This is the test pits for the stormwater basin.
Okay.
Yep, may have been it in the very back. Looks like a field
Oh,
form.
there we go.
Okay, switch.
Now look out, that thing moves around a lot.
Oh, yeah. A4. Squash maple, red maple, bittersweet. Dogwood. Invasive trees. Unidentified goldenrod as a dominant. That's not good. So this is a very conservative delineation. And then there's not a whole lot of difference. In fact, if they'd done the fact neutral test, they probably wouldn't have been, the boundary wouldn't have been as high. So it was the outer into the outer edge of the transition zone, which is good. So I think I'd rather suggest a couple of options.
Okay.
And one option is that he present a restoration plan. And the other option would be, or another option, and he could come up with a third suggestion, or fourth, or fifth, and we could discuss it further. Would be to present a formal design to convert the area to vehicle storage with stormwater management.
Okay. Were there any ongoing conditions about monumentation or not infringing on the area that we would need to think about?
There are no monuments visible, there's
Right.
nothing visible in the area.
I don't think we tended to do that back then.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, and also not, that tended to be more the concern with residential subdivisions with backyards that would
Right.
get bigger over time, and because ownership would change and familiarity with the site would change. Oh. Mayor's birthday is 20 days prior. That's why I'm on this. Don't see anything about conditions in perpetuity here. No special condition.
And is there a deadline you'd like to get one of these options by? Or just an answer of which options being pursued by the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see any ongoing conditions. So you will send a letter?
Yeah. If I call him too, if I will.
Sounds good. And these are from the 6th, you said?
The 6th is it. He seemed open to making it documentation or whatever needed to be done.
I agree,
Yeah.
He was very responsive.
Recognize that that happened out of a need for space, and if he needs space, then I don't want to close the door for him to pursue it through the right channels.
Great.
Just for
All right.
completeness, who attended the site visit on the 6th? Jay? Michael? Deborah?
Me.
Okay. And Cassie?
So we'll keep this on the agenda. Okay.
Yep, I'm ready.
Next item on the agenda, Mountain View Investors, 220 Northampton Street, map 114, lot 12. Evening.
Cool. We're here.
You're here, thank you. Is there anyone in particular who'd like to join us here, or do you all just want
We're
to?
all here to join you.
Oh, fantastic. Have you all signed in? Okay.
You want us to sit up
No,
at the table?
you can if you want to, but you're also the majority of the room. You wanna- Anyone who hasn't signed in could sign in, please, thank you. You want us to wait for you to come back?
I gotta go grab my son over at
Oh.
Circus Studio at 6:50, and then I'll be back.
Okay,
So hopefully you won't
sure. I think
pay before then.
we usually need more than a couple minutes to run through all the open permits, so
Alright.
we just will note that you're coming
I just
back.
didn't know if you were running away. Okay.
No, thank you for mentioning it, because sometimes near the end we try to go quickly. Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, as many chairs as you need to. Extra chairs now. Hello. So, for the record,
David Garska.
Mary Ann Fedor.
thank you. So, it has come to the commission's attention that the large wetland portion of the field has been cut, both apparently in the spring and in the fall.
No, not just this fall, in October.
Okay.
It has been brush hogged.
Fresh hogged.
Fresh hogged.
So
Well,
it's
the
been
vegetation's been cut,
Yeah, managed.
but only in the fall?
Yes.
Or in the spring? So the conundrum here is that this is a large wetland and it's not an agricultural activity at this point in time. And the exemption isn't for the land, it's for the activity. So if in past years it was hayed, which is an extension of agricultural, understandably, and that basically once the field, or once an area lays fallow for 5 or more years, unless there's a farm plan, and I don't think there are any in Easthampton, so that's almost never an issue or anywhere in Western Mass, really, but the opportunity for that exemption expires. So the definition of an alteration includes cutting vegetation, and so in order to cut the field, there needs to be some sort of either farm plan or permit or ongoing agricultural use.
Okay, so
So-
Marty dropped off the minutes of the meeting that we found in our files.
Right.
It says on it here that the commission clarified that brush hogging can only occur in the fall. And
And
that's an ongoing every year process.
And so the conundrum being, I understand several of us, 2 of us, 3 of us have our names on this.
What's the date on this?
October 24th, 2011.
Thank you.
And that is exactly what it says, and the part of the conundrum is that that is barring an agricultural activity, that is not an approval mechanism.
Where does it say that?
In the regulations.
That wasn't clarified at the meeting. At the meeting that you were at, we specifically asked for clarification as to how to handle this in the future. We were told exactly what's written on that document for your minutes of the meeting. Now, I'd like to back up a second. I was a little disappointed in watching the video.
So actually, one moment please, for the record, you are,
Martin Fedor.
thank you.
I was a little disappointed in watching the video and some of the comments that were made. One of the comments was, the previous enforcement order, all right, was due to mowing, haying, and rutting up the wetland. That's false. Okay? I have proof of that, not only because I was there together with you and several others, but from the document specifically, a WPA Form 9 enforcement order, which specifically states a trench had been excavated within an area that likely qualifies as bordering vegetated wetland. So, there was no mowing, haying, and rutting up of a wetland at that location, as was said on the video. Number 2, oh, and let me back up to that. There was pushback towards that comment from one of the counselors, which I was happy to hear. Someone actually remembered what went on. Now, number 2, it was due to my attempt to drain standing water by flipping over 5 bucket loader widths of 6 inches of turf, simply flipping it over. There was no rutting, no digging, nothing. It was simply that, which we created. The problem, we understand you have a job to do, we fixed it. We paid for whatever it cost, and we fixed it to comply with the order. Now, the minutes of the meeting from October 2011 are self-explanatory. We asked you folks, not all of you, because maybe not all of you were there, but we asked for clarification as far as how to handle that piece of land. And we were told specifically what it says on that document. I didn't have enough of them to pass out, otherwise I would have brought copies. I thought you folks might have had them distributed. But on this document from the Conservation Commission, dated October 24th, 2011, I have one copy myself, which I'd be happy to give to the board.
You don't need to, we have one up here.
Okay?
Thank you.
Please share that with your other counselors so they can see that you attended that meeting and you were in agreement, and everyone there was in agreement, that we can brush hog in the fall. That was done in compliance with what the Conservation Commission told us to do. Now, we're all progressives here. If you want to change things going forward, that's up to you. I don't have anything to say about that. But we're not going to go backwards. Based on that letter, we did everything to the law. Now, the owner of the property is elderly. I'm sure you didn't mean this in any form of harassment. So let's just let this go and move on.
Thank you. First, the commission stands corrected in its recollection of the material that led to the previous enforcement order. This document was not available to us at that time, and I appreciate you recalling it as well. We have it for our files. It was for the trench that was created in the wetland for the purpose of draining a portion of the wetland.
Right.
And that was the violation that occurred. Okay. Secondly, I understand members of this commission who are on the board tonight were present at this October 24th, 2011 meeting, where there are 4 bullets, the first of which, thank you, states that brush hogging can only occur in the fall. Short of rereading these minutes, I have no recollection of the discussion that led to these notes. And that's part of the reason we take minutes.
Which is fine. Can we go?
You can go anytime you'd like.
Is this over?
I don't think we're done discussing it.
What's it? There's nothing else to discuss. Come.
So, to clarify, the Wetlands Protection Act regulations are clear in that they state that an alteration includes cutting vegetation. That's the definition of an alteration. It's one of the definitions. So alteration includes cutting of vegetation, changing of drainage patterns. There are others. We can get the regulations if you want me to read them. The definition for agricultural exemptions is very broad and has been consistently applied to haying activities. Because we understand that a lot of land in Easthampton is agricultural in its history, and haying is a necessary agricultural activity and use of the land. And as long as those continue in perpetuity or consistently over the course of time, including being fallow for a period of up to 5 years or 10 years under a farm plan approved by USDA, then those activities continue to be exempt, but the land itself is never exempt. So if the use changes, a new use that's not exempt would be subject to the regulations in whole. So, that said, I would like to table this conversation for now unless other commissioners have input they want to share. I would like to query the previous chair as well as Mass DEP and come to a resolution.
Can I say,
Yes?
no one here has seen that mowed every fall, except last fall, because it was too wet. I mowed most years, he had another farmer that mowed, but every, Kelly Ritchie said after September 1st. So Marty's mowed it with his mower, and I've mowed it with my bush hog, and mine, it was dry as a bone. It's not wet at all, even though it's rain. And after a frost, so even the vegetation is dry. It was mowed, so there was no damage done this time. But it has been mowed every year. And
Brush hog.
it's surprising, brush hog, surprising that no one has seen that. Is this the first time it's being noticed?
And it's been
This is-
done many years prior to this too.
And when it's
But I
bush
thought
hog,
in a previous meeting, you brought in a receipt that someone hated, and you haven't.
the haying, that's, is not an issue, no one's looking to hay it. It'll be
So-
taken over by River Valley. It's just been brush hog because the upper, all the, there's quite a few poplars. I mean, they're like little sticks coming up. If you don't mow those, that in 9 years, that would be, brushy again.
So, to be fair, it occurred to me how little I drive north on 10 out of town. It's just not a route I take frequently.
But
So, and
Everybody
in the
else?
past, it was presumed to be paid, which is agricultural and exempt. And this year, I think the observation was that it was clearly not paid. And in other years, that was the presumption, and
But the haying hasn't been an issue since that order. After that, it's just been wanting to be mowed once in the fall.
I think our assumption, my assumption, I can't speak for anyone else on the board, either present or past members, was that it was a continued agricultural activity.
My assumption that it was being hayed because that's why Marty's father brought in a receipt for the person that was doing the haying, but I don't know how many years ago that was at this
Yeah.
point.
I mean,
So,
you guys know the difference between haying and brush hogging.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't look anything like it when you hay it and when you brush hog it. I mean, you can't mow down, you leave probably 6-8 inches when you brush hog it. When you mow it, you're cutting it right down, the cutter bar drives right along the land. So it clips it right down to the ground.
to be fair, I don't know that.
Well,
But I appreciate the explanation. Yeah, no, and that's why the questions were asked.
That's why it was permitted to be brush hog instead of mowed, Counselor,
yeah.
back at your meeting.
I would agree, talk to the previous chairwoman,
Yeah.
and it should clear itself right up.
Thank you all for your time this evening. Appreciate you all coming out.
Thanks, everybody.
Pass that on to Cassie.
Thank you.
Alright. Moving on, Cernak, Westview Terrace, map 165, lot 47. Any updates?
Hold on.
Yeah, we did a site visit. That was on 15th, November
Thank you.
15th. I took a bunch of photos and I wasn't able to get them off of my phone. But the photos in general, in summary, were basically, she had, through the restoration people that she worked with,
Kelly Cahill.
Kelly Cahill.
Thank you.
There was they basically mapped out all the areas that needed to be replanted and to what degree they needed to be replanted. So she basically took us to each one of those areas, and they had flagged all the trees that they had replanted there, and it was a mixture of pine, oak, and what was the other one? Maple, maybe?
Red maple?
Possibly. I have to look again. But, you know, it's a mixture of appropriate trees based off of this, and what this environmental consultant had told them to do. And so, it looks like a number of the trees did survive. Some of them, it seemed that might not be the case. They plan to go back in the spring, obviously, to double check, and to see what other work needs to be done. I know that there was originally also a question of invasives. In the spring, this spring, they had done a lot of work removing invasive mustard. And yeah, that's what I said. But and they plan to continue that invasive work again in the spring. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I also received, and I don't know if this is explicitly related to this, but a forest cutting plan from DCR for Westview Terrace and South Street. But it was from DCR, so I'm not really sure.
What's the date on that?
Is it a new plan or?
That's kind of how this whole thing got started.
Well, that's the thing. He said there's a new cover page, date stamp on previous version. So it was also confusing because it says it's from 2004, but they just sent it to me.
Okay.
And the proposed start date is 2018. It's kind of confusing, but if you want to pass that around.
So, I just want to back up a step for the minute. So at the November 15th site visit, was anyone else from the commission in attendance? Michael, thank you. Just Michael?
Not I, yeah, not I.
No, okay. And it was just Kelly Cahill?
And her father.
Okay, David Cernak?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so you're saying they intend to go back, they intend to go back in the spring to check for vegetation growth and sapling mortality and invasives.
Yeah.
So I would recommend, can you please convey the recommendation that that be done in the early growing season so that the invasives, part of the reason they tend to do better is that they leaf out earlier, they stay leafed out longer, so they have a longer biologically productive period. And that would just make it easier to see basically anything green. The first green stuff is usually invasives. And then where did this,
I got emailed it. I got emailed it the other day.
by whom?
But the dates are old. It says spring of 2018.
Yeah, but then there's a note at the top saying that there's a new cover page somewhere.
And then does this imply
so-
extension number 1?
Yeah, so I would,
19?
and who emailed this to
I
you?
got this on the 14th. It's from DCR. I can go.
Can you contact the service forester
Yeah.
and just, Sean Libby, because I would just want clarification. So the area, the forest cutting plan map, the hand-drawn map that's here, the area that says proposed solar field area not included in cutting plan is where all the violations occurred.
Gotcha.
And this also relates directly to item 7B of our agenda, where the applicant for that proposed solar field area has never followed through on their application with public notice as a legal ad in the paper or a butter notification.
Okay.
So this is just a little bit confusing, and I think it's worth getting clarification from Sean Libby on this highlighted note, extension number 1, 1119, to see what he extended and how long, what that entails and how long it's valid, and go from there.
Okay. Cool.
He's been responsive in the past.
Great. Yeah. And again, Kelly Gale seems very interested in supporting the
Seeing the
mitigation work.
restoration plan.
Yep,
Yes.
and restoration. So it seemed like a good visit to me.
Okay, excellent. Are we ready to move on? Moving on. Next item, Kaufman, 298 Loudville Road, map 120, lot 11.
Yeah, so last meeting you had asked for clarification because I was able to provide that timeline of permitting and work that they wanted to do, which is different from what had been asked of them in their original letter. And so it had been asked that I just get through email writing clarification from Mr. Ed Severance, who's representing the Kaufmans, that they were going to follow this plan, which is a deviation from the original requested timeline.
Okay.
And he confirmed, yes, this is a modification of the timeline of compliance on the 7th of this month.
Okay, excellent. So, do we have copies of the minutes? So as, that was as memorialized in our November 4th meeting minutes.
Yeah, I believe that they should. I have those, actually, if you guys want to see them.
Just, if you could just clarify when we next expect to see something from them.
Oh, yeah. So let's see. That's all I know right now. Yep, so the next action we would expect to see they're doing a site assessment this month. They're gonna create a preliminary plan in December. January, they're gonna design a permit level plan, and in February, they will present to the commission.
Okay.
So February of next year.
Okay. And in response, did you also encourage them or confirm for them that being ahead of schedule is not frowned upon?
I didn't say that, I thought it was assumed.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Any other discussion? Moving on, St. Bridget's Cemetery, Our Lady of the Valley Parish, Everett Street, map 145, lot 37. Any updates?
Yeah, so I gave him a call. Tony Summers is my main point of contact for the restoration work that's being done there. And
is he with our St. Bridget's Cemetery, or is he with NEE SWCA?
SWC, that's right. So, yeah, correct. And he confirmed that all the earthwork is complete. They're not moving any there was a number of stones and hard material that was there that's been removed, and they've set up, they won't be moving any sediment or ground going forward. They also have completed all the invasive plant management that they were going to do, which entailed spraying. They actually did like the whole property, he told me. But they haven't been able to do any of the replanting in the areas that they had disturbed yet because it's simply not suitable growing conditions anymore. So they did want some clarification. They had planned on the exposed ground to put some kind of like jute matting or some kind of erosion type matting. And I just wanted to make sure that was okay.
Absolutely.
Sufficient.
At least that's my impression.
Yeah.
I think that it needs to be protected.
Yeah.
And then they'll provide notification prior to going out to replant in the spring?
He didn't say that, but we can get that. Yeah, because when I tell him that that's a good way to go about having the erosion control, I'll make sure I ask him to confirm with us before he plants. Before he plants or after the planting is done?
I'd say when they plan on doing it so that you can schedule a follow-up site visit.
Great.
And then if you could also have him confirm when the erosion control blankets are installed so that you know you could maybe do a site visit at your convenience, just to make sure that they're properly installed.
Awesome.
That'd be great. Okay, next item. Ready?
Almost.
Okay.
Okay, ready.
Okay, Autumn Properties LLC, rear 161 to 165 Northampton Street. Any updates?
Hold on 1 second. On properties, no. I
Okay.
don't know. Okay.
And Bernard Gall, 37 South Street.
Nothing.
Okay. Moving on to open space updates. Ready to go?
Yes.
Echodale West Orchard area improvements. Were you able to connect with anyone at Land Stewardship?
I called a couple more times. I haven't got anything. I'm not sure how else I should go about trying to contact them. I've left a number of messages as well. And
Okay.
I can try seeing if I can find some kind of email contact. It's usually that's the least effective method, but I can try that next. What's my plan?
Alternatively, you could try reaching out to Chris Politan, P-O-L-A-T-I-N, as an alternate contact there.
You're too late.
That's nice. Okay.
I ran as fast as I could.
I'm impressed, actually. So, next item, Lathrop Community of Easthampton, Florence Road, conservation land discussion. Any updates?
No updates.
Okay, fine. Compliance updates. Shall we jump ahead to K?
I think we should. We would love that.
Would you?
Thank you. We'll even bring candy next time.
Michael takes care of us. All right, going out of order to item K, River Valley Cooperative Market, 228 Northampton Street, DEP file number 151301 for site redevelopment for a new supermarket and related site work. Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you reintroduce yourselves for the record? It's been a while.
Here's one, Jeff Squire from the Berkshire Design Group, with, yeah, Monica and Rochelle from River Valley. Yeah, as I started to mention before, we're just here to update you with regards to project status. It's been a couple months since the order of conditions was issued, and so we've had some time to resolve a few of the hanging things that were out there last time, particularly with solar. And so it's just to provide you with an update and see if there's anything that the commission needs moving forward. So, crash. No, I think I can do it here. So, this plan was the plan that was originally approved in the order of conditions. And what you're seeing highlighted in blue are the solar panels that are designed to go over the parking spaces. These were over parking stalls as well. These were originally designed to be ground mounted at roughly starting at about a 4-foot height. There's a detention area here, all the stormwater proof. So that's where things stood in April, August. This is where they stand now. Really, the big difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really all we're worried about.
So, in terms of overall solar capacity, there's slightly more, but not a whole lot with this scheme. And really, what has happened is the drive aisles have since been covered.
And it looks like there's no gap.
And there's no gap, right? And then the other thing is this panel that was, or this array that was closest to the wetlands have now moved up and away from the wetlands, closer to the parking lot, so that this is going to be a similar butterfly setup to these, so that what was previously shown before as a lower ground-mounted one is now going to be up much higher and with the other carport, so that vegetation, some of those shady concerns should be alleviated.
So in terms of concentrating flow and runoff?
Yep,
from
all
that?
of that is being directed to the stone
Okay.
filter strip that we had designed originally for that section of pavement. So all that still is going through the stormwater systems. There's no other changes to the system.
Okay.
Inverters and batteries are under this array here because of their proximity to the power line on Route 10. But
So this is shown on sheet L.3,
Yep.
dated 11/1/2019,
Okay.
prepared by Berkshire Design Group. Can we get,
And so, yeah, and so in terms of, we still intend to file, at the project's completion, a set of as-built. We can, if you want to track these changes now versus, at the end of the project, that's fine.
yeah, no, that would be good because this is not the final approved site plan. And so having that in advance would be good.
Sure.
I think what would maybe be helpful, Cassie, is if you were to perhaps email these folks almost like a checklist of pre-construction submittals, because there were numerous ones.
Oh, yeah. There's a number of things that we still need to do as part of the order of conditions. This is just sort of a project update. We don't anticipate construction is going to start until spring, maybe winter. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe February.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the biggest, so the pre-construction submittals, making sure that those are in before ground is
Yeah.
broken, rebroken. And then making sure there's the pre-construction meeting with the agent. Fortunately, we have one, so it's easier to do, more flexible. And that's it, kind of like some of the most important things are the site contacts.
Yep.
Erosion sedimentation controls and making sure they're in properly.
And who would be the best people to email? I don't know if it's on your original application.
Probably, yeah. I can give you my card also, but
Okay.
Jeff at Berkshire Design is the easiest, most effective way. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate you taking the time to come in and being so patient.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thanks for letting me run out and
Especially
run
since part of
in.
it kind of pertains to your,
Yeah, pretty exciting, thank you.
excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. All right, check. Cool. Are we ready to find the rest of it? City, there, my reward.
Maybe I'll
No. Ready?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
evening.
Have a good night. Thanks.
All right. Compliance update A, Pleasant Street Mills, DEP file number 151273, see above?
Yeah.
Extended to 2020, 12, 2020, 2020.
Yes, that's what I would say.
What?
Next, Lathrop Community, 100 Bassett Brook Drive, 151283, invasive plant management.
None.
Williston Northampton School off Taft Ave, 151286, cross-country running trail improvements.
Yes.
What?
I had a meeting with Mark Reed, so he was able to speak to that during that meeting as well,
Okay.
which was pretty cool. And he said they will be coming for a COC hopefully in December or January.
Okay.
And then, so when he comes for that as well, he said he would also be available to speak to
Logan?
some of the other property updates that we had, but I'll talk about that
Great.
later when we get there.
Okay. Say when.
When?
City of Easthampton, Nashwater Pond, DEP file number 151288, aquatic veg management.
None.
Loven Properties, off O'Neill Street, DEP file number 151287. That was when we've had several
Yeah.
discussions about the wetland restoration areas and compliance monitoring.
Right, so this is part of our discussion. I had a meeting with Mark Reed in person on the 14th of this month. There was a question that at our last meeting about obtaining SWIP reports that would reflect any kind of work, and he clarified that no work is being done. So there shouldn't be a necessity for the SWIP reports, hopefully.
As long as the site has been stabilized,
It's
where the
been-
ground
they're
is.
they're storing materials in the middle, and what they planted
Okay.
has grown in, so it looks stable.
Yeah, he felt confident that that would be redundant to send to you because there's nothing based off of what Jay just said.
Okay.
Let's see, the property, and he also kind of just gave a little extra information of the property owner. It's for an excavation company, and he's not had time to do any work on the site recently, just because he's been busy with excavation work, which kind of explains why there's kind of not much been going on there. He also said that in terms of the wetland report, it's incoming for this fall. And then next spring and then next fall again is his like kind of planned schedule for submitting those to us. He says that just, cursory, currently it appears to be about 90% sedge species. He said it's hard to identify the growth at this time just because of the conditions of the season, I suppose. And then from he just seemed like at a glance it looks like it's almost all wetland plants in that area. And so that was nothing official. It was just kind of like his kind of on the fly opinion at that meeting.
So I think a follow-up or preparatory point would be to go and check the file and see what the proposed plant or seed mix was supposed to be.
Okay.
Because if they planted one thing and it's all, I'm not saying this is the case, but if they planted, a sedge mix and it comes in as all Phragmites, that's not a successful restoration, even though it's maybe more than 90% vegetated.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's important to know and refresh our memories as to what the proposed approved restoration plan entailed
Okay.
in
Cool.
terms of species composition. Great. Wow. All right. Next. City of Easthampton, Whitebrook, Broadbrook, DEP file number 151268.
None.
Holistic Industries, 155 Northampton Street, DEP file number 151296.
Yes. So again, Mark Reed. Same meeting on the 14th of November. The knotweed has been removed. The rain garden is complete, but they did have to, and he provided plans. So this part of the reason he wanted this meeting is because They did end up actually making a slight change to the original in that in the rain garden, at one of the extreme back points of it, they had to install a small section of riprap because the vegetation had not taken hold yet, and they were concerned that it wouldn't be stabilized correctly for this winter season, and then when they were going to change it, make it what was originally planned in the spring, once things could
Okay, so
actually
this is
grow.
a temporary stabilization measure.
Yeah, and I can show you, so,
Okay, that's fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. He basically was just concerned that it was not going to be doing what it needed to do over the winter period. And then, so, where is it? Where's the rain garden? Why does this look like not totally there at all?
Because that looks like access.
Oh, they gave me the wrong one. All right, well, this is another thing that was another point of it. So I can show you, the plan basically showed like this rain garden area and the very pointy end had just a small section of riprap. This is the other note that I had about this work was that, let's see here. They recently went before the planning board. And a lot of people had questions about that because they were changing the use of the actual facility to adult recreational marijuana use, which didn't affect the building plans at all.
That doesn't affect Wetlands Protection Act at all?
But the question that came up was, do they need an okay from the commission before they can go up ahead of up to the building department about this change?
Does it change the plan? Does it change any of the work in buffer zone?
Site work or anything?
No, that
Nothing,
has
yeah.
absolutely nothing to do with the commission's purview.
Well, that makes sense. He was just concerned that when he goes to the building department that they're going to want to see a certificate of compliance before the building department will sign off on this, which I was confused that for the
That
same
is-
reason that you're describing.
Yeah, that's not within our jurisdiction to approve or deny or
Yeah.
review at all,
Yeah.
so.
Well, he meant not that there was, that we were okay with the change of use.
Oh.
More that the work is satisfactorily complete. He was worried that the building department will want to make sure that the work is complete in terms of what the commission wants before they're going to sign off on this change of use.
Oh, well, that's still something that we can't address for
Yeah.
him. That's a matter to discuss with the building department.
So his question then was, if, in preparation of that potentially being the case, he wanted to know if there was some kind of, it seems like the work isn't going to be, they don't necessarily be ready for a certificate of compliance because of this change to the that riprap addition, and we need to see the growing stuff. So we're not going to be ready for an official COC in time for this building department question. So he was like, is there any kind of unofficial letter that we could provide saying that we feel good about it? Yeah, I didn't know of anything like that. So I will.
I'm not aware of it. I mean, you're welcome to reach out to DEP and see if they have
Yeah.
any suggestions, but
Right.
I'm not aware of any mechanism available to the commission that would facilitate that sort of.
Saying like everything is okay so far, building department, it's okay. I don't
Yep.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
All right. Yes.
And I had a question that I had proposed for you.
Yes.
Because I wasn't sure, but they said that they had added a gravel walkway.
That's the next thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. That's good.
Thank
That's a
you.
good segue because there was one final thing that was changed, and that's what's displayed on this map. They did put in there was a gravel walkway installed. This is their property. And then this is the abutting parking lot, and they have an understanding with this abutting parking lot that they can utilize these spaces for overflow. For I think employees would primarily be parking there, and then everyone else who's actually using the area would park over here. But there was concern of how they would get there because there isn't a sidewalk, or I don't know. They thought for convenience sake, so they put in this temporary compacted gravel walk. It's outside of the buffer zone.
It's far outside from
Yeah,
them.
the question became though, that there is this depression, potentially an old man-made, Payson, I said it was isolated, if it is even a wetland, so I
That's
don't.
where the cat o' nine tails are.
Oh, the
Mhm.
cattails.
Right, 'cause
Um,
they installed this kind of PVC pipe to deal with the overflow.
If it's isolated, we don't have jurisdiction under the Wetlands Protection Act. Isolated isn't, yeah, we only have bordering on another, like a stream or a pond or another water body.
Whose parking
Right.
lot is it?
I can't remember.
That's where East Hampton.
Here's a picture of kind of what they created, just in case you put a straw wattle in.
I mean, this is
supposed
never
to
a
be-
bad idea to put straw.
Yeah, so, and that's the gravel path that they put in, and
Still in mine.
just throw them in there.
When in doubt, stroll out.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to see
Regular
that,
candy.
yeah. But the work is done, and he just provided this information just in case you guys had questions or were concerned. So if there is anything else about this, though, does that satisfy your questions?
Yeah, no, I was driving,
Right, exactly.
so it looked like the cattails were here.
Yeah.
But you could see where the water is.
Right.
Then there was the gravel they put in, and then it looked like there was a little bit more. So I didn't know if it had, they went over it and it threw in. I didn't know if that was important.
No, it's a good question, but it looks like it's all okay. Yeah. Let's see, and then lastly, he just gave me an inspection report. Inspection log, it describes the installation of that riprap. And that's about it. That's a lot of things, but
No.
it seems to all be in good order. No. Yes, it looks good. And so again, he'll be in December or January for that other project, the Wilson School, and he said that he would be happy to address any other questions about any of these projects when he came in at that time as well.
Thank you. Did you get your job? Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
We should be whipping through the rest of these, right?
I do.
I have some up there. I know, I'm gonna try.
All right, City of Easthampton, oh no, I'm lying. 1 Industrial Loss LLC, 1 Ferry Street, tracks 1 and 2, DEP file numbers 151298 and 299 respectively.
So the last meeting, we had been in request, I made a request to them to get the ENOI numbers, or reports that included the ENOI tracking numbers and the NPDES tracking numbers. I've been in contact with Rob Levesque, who said he was working on it, and then a gentleman named Ryan Nelson provided an EPA NOI form, which had the tracking, the NPDES ID number on it, but it did not have a report. And then today, Jeff forwarded me a SWIP inspection report from Mike Nishan that had been completed on the 14th, November 14th. This is that report. That's the only one I've received so far. In terms of actual work that's actually going on there as well, Jeff was able to give me an update that they are, if you'll remember, they came before, some city employees that came before the board to discuss the Office of Dam Safety, wanted them to mow and they were gonna do an inspection. They're still waiting on the results of that inspection. And so they have not done any work near the area of concern for the resource area. And they've shifted, worked on utility work, which is outside of the resource area until they get that clarification from the Office of Dam Safety. So that's kind of just currently where it is at in general.
So I guess a question that I have, so their frequency of inspection is every 14 days and within 24 hours of quarter-inch rain or the occurrence of runoff from snow melt sufficient to cause a discharge. So they've been doing work on the site. We've had multiple rain events that exceeded a quarter-inch. Why is this the only report we're getting? Or why is this the only report they've provided?
Yeah, they haven't said any, they haven't spoken to that. I can ask more explicitly for past. I did ask for do you have the reports?
So
Like implying that they should already exist?
yeah.
Yeah, but that was the only one that I was provided.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
And then the qualifications of Mr. Stadler
I can ask for clarification
to
on
be
that.
the SWIP inspector. He's listed as the owner's rep completing this SWIP inspection, so it would just, you get to know if he understands the role of the SWIP inspector.
Right.
Just to close the loop, the order of conditions as,
Requirements that we
Requirements that-
nominate and we approve, which has not happened.
but also that they submit the NIPD's required stormwater reports to us as well, or
Yes.
something
Yeah,
comparable.
I basically cut and paste that whole thing from the order and conditions and put it in an email that I've sent to all these people that I mentioned earlier have been in contact with me, and that's kind of what I got.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously I'll ask for clarification of who this inspector is. I can cite that we're supposed to approve that person.
That their nomination was supposed to be approved by the
Yeah.
commission per our special condition,
Yeah.
and list the special condition number.
And, let's see, if there are no past reports, which I don't know if there are or not, but being that this is the only thing that they submitted to me, that's my assumption at this point. What should we do going forward? I guess we can't retroactively create reports, obviously.
No, I would just note that there was no non-compliance for multiple
Thank you.
storm events.
Okay.
And that moving forward, the commission has the right within its discretion to enforce compliance under either or both open orders of conditions.
Okay, and I'll say that to them, you know, so we can do that.
Okay. Easthampton Park One Solar One LLC, 232 Park Street, 151293.
Nothing.
No updates.
No updates.
All right, we've already addressed River Valley Co-op. Next item, City of Easthampton, DEP file number 151302 for pump house demolition activities. At
Yeah.
Lower Mill Pond.
Yep, so there had been a question of the seed type, and they had said that when I was in discussion with Mike Owens, he had said that it hadn't been specified what seed type should be used. You guys gave the clarification that I'm gonna check and see what needs to be there. But if it doesn't say, then to use I wrote it down, a logical mix, so, and I can just, I'm gonna provide that information to him. But otherwise, I have not received any information. I know that the last meeting I had given you those dates about when it seemed work was going to be done, and I have not gotten any other updates from Mike. Yeah, my last information was the contractor was projected to start on the 21st, and that they were going to try to put in those erosion control.
The 21st of November.
That's when the contractor was hoping to start, and then
Which is
this week, yeah.
Thursday.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I had asked Mike to inform me of when they had put in the erosion control. I haven't heard of that either. So, but due to the history of this project of them being unable to get the contractor to do work, I would think that it's likely that that isn't happening this Thursday. But I'm gonna just double check.
Okay.
So, wait, I missed a string of meetings, obviously. What's the status of this right now? Just so I can catch up.
Oh, sure. So, we did a site visit on the 31st of October, and
So nothing has happened at all?
nothing has
yet?
happened. No,
Okay.
they put in
They
the.
ripped down the building.
Oh, they did rip down the building?
Yeah,
building's
they found a
covered.
And then
giant
they had an
hole.
issue, and then it halted.
Yep, ripped down the building, found an issue.
And instead of pouring, I believe they were gonna pour concrete on the top of it, they have to put concrete panels on top because there's a hole, and if they pour, it's just gonna flow out into the pond, so.
Yep.
They're getting these panels made, I don't know if they're, pre-stressed panels or
Do
whatever.
we ask them to
Gotcha.
do
So
more
that's the work that they're doing.
controls?
I remember
But they've been very non-responsive, not getting back to people, so it's just been
it's done, so I can check it out. I
communication
haven't heard back
process.
yet.
And I think they had pulled all the erosion controls, so now they need
Well,
to
they're
go
still
back.
there. The erosion controls are still there, but they kind of made,
They're gonna have to reach out.
you're supposed to take the building down without driving up and down the bank, and they made a rut, so they need to repair this rut that they made driving up and down the bank with equipment, truck equipment.
And Cassie said they reached out and they were gonna put more erosion controls?
They haven't reached out yet. They, remember at the meeting, the site visit,
Yeah.
that was the last I heard about the erosion controls. But he told me that he would be contacting me to let me know when that had been actually set up.
We thought there should be erosion controls across the road that they created, just because the ones on the side don't do anything. And it's just it's a trough that's, if it rains, it's gonna just run down there into the pond.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
All right, next item, City of Easthampton, DEP file number 151303 for roadway improvements and maintenance of Ferry Street and Pleasant and Luffield Streets.
So again, that kind of has to do with the, what am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking something else, sorry. Yeah, so there had been a question of the stone pieces that they said they were gonna remove. Diane, fortunately I haven't done the necessary follow-up quite yet for this one, but I spoke to Diane about it, and she
Diane
said,
Rossini?
yes, Diane Rossini, and she said that she believes it was discussed at the meeting, but it's like a different. It was with a different city or a different person from the project. It wasn't her. She gave me a contact number. Someone named Stephanie that I need to contact. Let me just see if I might have it right here.
I'm confused.
Yeah, let me see.
So we're talking about the stones that fell into the pond, and at our previous meeting, they were saying, when representatives from McMahon were here to talk about special consideration of the invasive species inventory relative to clearing vegetation to facilitate inspection of the dam embankment.
Mhm.
They noted that the blocks had fallen into Lower Mill Pond and that they were just going to pick them up and pull them out.
Mhm.
And we left it
And
on
we
there.
basically told them that is not within the scope of your permit and this approval.
Yeah. So when I talked to her quickly about it, she said that Stephanie McDonald's may have more info.
McMahon.
Because she went to the meetings about the storm review. She says check the July 22nd to 2019 minutes for the hearing itself. And I've not had time to do that.
I think at that time they said that there was no work below the high water mark or the upper boundary of bank.
Okay.
But please check the minutes and
Yeah.
the video and
I'm just guessing no update on this one.
Yeah,
no
essentially.
substantial update.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, moving on. Beacon Solar LLC, DP file number 151304, 50 Florence Road.
Nothing.
Easthampton School Committee, DEP file number 151305, construction of new school building, etc., 200 Park Street.
Last meeting you asked that I check if the order of conditions had been filed with the registry, and they had. And then to go back, unfortunately, the one for 50 Florence, I just realized that I have a note here that you were asking about that as well, if that order of conditions had been registered with the registry of deeds, and I couldn't find the record. But I was gonna try to call the registry of deeds too, just in case to make sure I was looking at it right, but I couldn't find it.
Okay. And they haven't, but you have no record of them, of Beacon Solar or their representative notifying the commission that the order had been recorded?
Right, I don't have that sheet. Yeah.
Okay, or an email okay, that's the normal, that should be the normal
Okay.
process. So, we just need to be,
the email then. I can double check there. But
so we gave them their approval in August, the end of August, so, okay. Just need to keep an eye out for any activity commencing. Okay, next item. City of Easthampton, DEP file number 151306 for maintenance activities at River Street.
yeah, we're
Work
still
completed, still waiting on the RCOC?
exactly.
Okay. All right, general business, meeting minutes, October 21st, 2019. Did you pass the meeting minutes around?
Yes, I have. I sent them in an agenda email, but then I also have hard copies here for everybody.
Thank you. So, Mr. Buptrick and Mr. Ryan were absent
Wait, which day what?
from the
21st of October.
October 21.
No.
Motion to approve the minutes of 10/21/2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Motion to approve the November 4th, 2019 minutes.
Motion to approve the November 4, 2019 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, so I think we're caught up.
I didn't know you.
Yes, yeah, we're going now.
It's a new thing I'm trying.
I'd see tardy without notice. That would be good.
That would just be very passive aggressive.
So that was October, what was the second date?
October or November 4th.
November 4th, that was the last one.
Instead of being tardy with notice, I like to feel like appeared despite thinking.
Here
what-
despite challenges.
Right.
Should be commended.
All right.
Okay.
Next item. The commission is in receipt of a notice of intent, Mass DEP file number 151297, filed by Easthampton Park Solar 1 LLC for solar project at Westview Terrace, map 165, lot 47. Notice of intent was filed on April 10th, 2018, identified as the date of filing by Mass DEP. Please note that the applicant has not made public notice by legal ad in the paper, nor have they notified abutters. This filing will expire 2 years from date of receipt.
Sorry. There's gotta be a way to be funnier about that.
Next item, commission is in receipt of billing question from GZA in regard to delineation at 50 Florence Road.
Yep, so I'm working with Jeff because we discussed that we were ready to pay the original understood amount of $5,500. I'm working with Jeff to figure out the actual way to do that.
Okay.
And it's more just checking our records to see if we started doing that or not, if Mallory started. So far, I haven't been able to find the purchase order that may or may not have been created. So if it hasn't been created, that's like another thing. So,
Okay, great.
yeah, so that's where we're at.
Yes. Please pursue that. It would be really good to wrap that up by in December at the latest.
Was that to be paid from our funds, or was that from?
That was escrow.
Was it an escrow?
That was a peer review under MGL Chapter 53, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So that was, we selected GZA from the quotes we received because it was lump sum. And that was what we felt was the most straightforward approach. Everything else about the proposals was, means and methods were consistent, so. It was apples to apples except for the terms and conditions. Okay. We are in receipt of request for past certificate of compliance for 99 Hendrick Street and site visit request. Could you explain this, please?
Yeah, so I finally, based off the last meeting, or I'm not sure if it was in a meeting or when we had spoke, I had been he had sent me again pictures of his request for certificate of compliance and had emailed me saying that he was, it was his understanding that they had received a certificate of compliance in the past, but he did not have it and wanted another copy of it. I also do not have it. I checked all my records and I checked the minutes. There's no talk of it either in the minutes. He cited that Kelly Ritchie
is the past chair.
who's the past chair and may have more information about it. But basically what I ended up telling him is that I explained that he says that the work was completed at the end of 2002 or 2003. Kelly Ritchie told him she remembered conducting a site visit for the request for COC, just a site visit. The original surveyor also no longer exists. Company, I don't know if it's the person, but he doesn't know why.
Company associate.
Yeah, he doesn't know why he doesn't have the COC that he says was issued, just needs another copy now because he wants to clear the deed. I said we would likely have to restart the process for the COC, but we may be able to just, the original request, I still have it. It doesn't have any particular dates on it. We could just use that to.
So as I recall, there's a shortcoming there, and that is that the order of conditions references an engineer stamped, a PE stamped drawing.
Okay.
And therefore, we need an as-built and a statement from a PE that says this was constructed the right way. So without that, or barring any documentation that demonstrates that the commission in the past did in fact issue a certificate of compliance, we can't proceed without that information.
Yeah, that's essentially, I didn't know those stipulations about the as-built and the statement from the PE, but I did tell him that all these commissioners would like to, you know, they're not gonna just sign off on it because they're apparently used to be a COC. We have to, if we don't have the COC, we're going to do the process again.
Right.
Essentially what I told him.
Yes.
So I think he was just waiting on, from the commission, my main question was just can I use his old request for certificate of compliance? Does he need to send me a new one or not?
Well, I think the one that he sent you pictures of? Is that-
Yeah, I found the physical copy of it in my records.
So I think what it sounds like the commission may need to do is send him a letter noting the technical deficiencies,
Okay.
and clarifying the information that he is required to provide. And if you want to draft that and cite either specific conditions from the order of conditions that's recorded against his deed, or if you look at the the request for certificate of compliance form on the second page is where it requires, if it was accompanied by a PE stamp drawing, it's where it has the language about the PE statement.
Okay. All right, cool.
When was this?
It sounds like the instruction was 2002 or 2003, which means that the order of conditions was prior to that.
Yep, I think the order of conditions.
So I think the order of conditions officially predates everyone sitting on the board at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's zero institutional knowledge here.
Right. Yeah. So
There was someone before you? Beth Ritchie?
Kelly Ritchie.
So you want me to write him a physical letter, or can I email him that? Or should I write him a do both, maybe?
If you email him that, let's figure out who you should copy.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, cool.
All right. 2020 meeting schedule draft. Because it's almost 2020. Oh, you printed it. Good.
And I have another, if anyone wants another copy of it.
Could you just put one down here?
Yeah.
It is not print. Oh, thank you, Michael.
So, yeah, this is my first draft, just because the way, I just tried to follow the, every 2 weeks meeting schedule, but it ended up with 3 in June.
Yeah, that's not what's gonna
Which is
happen.
not good. So, I'm
No,
not sure.
so normally we are the, what, second and fourth?
Second and fourth.
So we try to follow the second and fourth.
Oh, okay.
Unless
Right.
there's
Holiday thing.
a holiday or something that comes in between, so.
Okay, so I think I followed the round rules. I just did every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's okay. It did, we don't have,
Did we switch any for Monday holidays? Because those caught me by surprise a couple of days this year.
Why are we on Mondays?
because we've always been on Mondays.
Tradition.
Let's not question that.
Our one and only tradition.
Don't even think about
So,
changing that.
yeah.
We could do Saturday mornings at 6.
I tried to be cognizant of actual Monday holidays. I didn't see any on my Google Calendar thing. So, should be safe. I moved stuff around to accommodate those, so we should be safe in that regard.
But if we're second and fourth, we wouldn't be June 1st and 15th.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so
I
you're
was
gonna go
going-
back.
I'll have to go back and fix that too.
Okay.
Because I had
Okay.
been just doing every 2 weeks.
So you're gonna take another
Yes.
stab at it. Okay, oh, I'm really sorry. I would just, if you, in addition to the Google Calendar, I would actually look up Massachusetts state holidays
Okay.
from the Secretary of State. And if there are any,
Yeah, I did it based off of the form that Jeff had given me.
Oh, okay.
What city holidays are.
that's perfect. That's what matters. And then, yeah, it's just, and then the preceding week, if there's a holiday on the Monday preceding a meeting, then that bumps the leave time deadline back to the previous Friday.
Thank you. Gotcha.
So it's a week and a Friday in advance, because it's business days and weekend days don't count.
Right, right.
So, not that I've ever been burned by that. Any other news updates?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Aye.
Nice.
Good job.